Michaela,
Yes, Matt.
do you know the 5 stages of grief?
I'm very familiar, but do you want to explain them to me?
Yeah. They're the process in which a person goes through after something awful happens, like a death in the family. And Seattle's been experiencing it since 2008.
Do you think we're stuck on denial?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was moments of pleading and there was a lot of anger, but I definitely think we're still in the denial. That was like, we're at the end of the denial phase. We have not moved on. Welcome to What the Washington, a historical, social, and political tour of the weirdest state in the nation. I'm Matt.
I'm Michaela, and Matt is using his NPR voice today.
I'm feeling it. I'm feeling something fierce.
Hard news. Only more than 10 years behind when it happens. Breaking.
Breaking news. Well, actually, today's topic is kind of relevant because Adam Silver, the commissioner of the National Basketball Association, has announced that there will be 2 expansions to the NBA, 2 expansion teams. And that leaves the distinct possibility Seattle may be getting a basketball team again after nearly almost 20 years of not having a basketball
Like
team.
15, yeah.
15 years. And what I'm talking about is the Seattle SuperSonics moving.
I think... I don't know when this news is going to drop, but I think you guys will lose your mind if it doesn't happen.
There is a distinct possibility that
Yeah.
if something doesn't happen the way it's supposed to, I think Seattle fans may actually, Seattle former fans, will lose. The ones that are old enough to remember will lose something of themselves if we don't get a team. And I'm one of those people who is kind of hoping that it's Seattle, but I also understand we've gotten to a point where a whole generation of Seattleites or Washingtonians have gone without basketball.
It'd be really funny.
What?
I'm going to steal so much thunder from you, I think, but I don't know. Maybe some people are like basically aware from this. Wouldn't it be funny if we just took Oklahoma City back because they refused to also build a public arena for them?
That would be
since they're asking for it.
So terrible. It's true. And so Michaela's talking about the city of Oklahoma City is being asked by the owners of what used to be the Sonics is now the Oklahoma Thunder.
I knew I was
Thunder.
doing a pun. I was like, wait, am I wrong that that's their name? But as soon as I said it,
I
was like...
You know how hard it was for me not to instantly, while you were talking, go, to steal your thunder, you mean Oklahoma City Thunder? But yeah, but they are actually asking to get a publicly financed stadium, which is kind of the crux of what happened the last time. And we're going to get into the story of how a team could go from being a championship winner, playoff rival of one of the greatest lineups of NBA history, Michael Jordan's 96 Bulls, which this is a sports episode, folks.
Oh, boy.
People may not know this about me. I may be a history nerd. I may be a science nerd. But first and foremost, as a deep lover of playing games, I am a sports nerd. And I am not a sports nerd as in like stats or whatever, but I am an enjoyer of the game.
First and foremost, his primary love is Kevin Durant. First and foremost, he is a Kevin Durant stan.
Well, this will actually talk to why I'm a Kevin Durant fan. There is a deep history, a deep lore, if you will, about Seattle and Kevin Durant, despite his many flaws, that is rooted in this crisis. I call it a crisis because it was a crisis when it happened. It's one of those things that it's a fixture. The SuperSonics were a fixture in Seattle culture forever, since the 70s. Actually before the 70s, like the 60s. And the fact that they're gone is just this massive gaping hole where a team should be. Now, I will say this. We have a basketball team. It is called the Seattle Storms. I recommend everyone support them. They're the WNBA team. It's not fair that the male basketball team gets all the credit. The Seattle Storm is one of the greatest sports franchises in American history. So I'm just going to put that out there. But besides that, we, lost a championship team that had made it to the playoffs the year before, or 2 years before it got sold. And I think everyone forgot about it because then the Seahawks started winning Super Bowls. And so then all the Washington suburbanites were like, oh, I don't care about
helped,
basketball.
I think.
Yeah, it eased the pain of of losing a basketball team. But to old heads, I'm going to call them old heads, the Seahawks victory doesn't mean anything except we deserve to have all of our teams, not just the football team and the soccer team.
A spoiler alert. It's all Howard Schultz's fault, as usual.
100%. No, you would probably not think Starbucks is even involved in this story. And it's not Starbucks. It's the owner of Starbucks, but he's only rich because he was the CEO of Starbucks. He looms large in this story. There's a cast of characters that stretches across decades in this story.
You think Rex Velvet is the supervillain of Seattle? Think again. It's Howard Schultz.
True villain. And the thing is, he can't.
Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. Yeah, I was going to say he can't do anything right. He can't run a basketball team. He can't break unions. He can't do anything.
I was going to say, they bring him back to Starbucks explicitly to be a piece of trash. I'm trying to be...
She's trying to be PG.
I'm trying hard to not have to put the explicit tag on our podcast.
Yeah, Howard Schultz was the owner of the team. So I'm going to go and put out a timeline. This is like, cue the 24 countdown. Like, if you know what I'm talking about, let's show from 24 where they have like the 24-hour time. But put it from like 2001 to like 2008. You're going to just be like, oh man.
Yeah, this happened a long time ago. Really, when you think about it. And it's interesting because up until I would say like 2016, it was a very common push still. Like people were still advocating for it constantly.
Yeah.
And now I feel like it's in the last 7 years has been pretty silent.
It's dropped off significantly. I do think because the NBA keeps teasing expansion teams, the Seattle fan base that's still active, that still like cares about this, are trying to convince the city itself. I should say the Seattle fan base is trying to convince the city itself to invest in the potential of getting a new team. But because they don't want to go hog wild like they did when it happened, when the team was traded, they don't want to go so crazy about it. They're trying to I think that they're really trying to like ease, be strategic about their appearances.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, the push in like 2016 or whatever it was because there was talk of like expanding a dome, like either in Tacoma, like building something new in Tacoma. And so they were like, oh, we can build an arena and then the SuperSonics will come back. I think this is when they were deciding if they were going to upgrade Key Arena or not.
They call it now. I refuse to call it this, but they call it Climate Pledge Arena.
I always forget that's what it's called.
Yeah, it's Key Arena. Okay, so here's another tangent.
It's never T-Mobile Park.
It's not T-Mobile Park. It's
unless
Safeco.
They pay for
it's Safeco Field. Unless they're paying.
Unless they send us a cease and desist.
I'm sick and tired of having to keep saying these fake names. It's Key Arena. Yeah, like I'm not gonna like these stadiums, these teams, all are a part of an ecosystem, and Seattle got a hockey team recently, the Seattle Kraken, which made it to the playoffs. I believe the first
Yeah, it
year
was
they
something. I don't know how hockey works.
It's weird. It's Stanley Cup. It's like it's like World Cup style, where you have like a tournament at the end.
Yeah, I don't know how you get in the tournament though.
Yeah, but you make it into the playoffs. And I know they made it to the playoffs. They didn't go to the Stanley Cup or anything, but they definitely made it to the playoffs. So Seattle has a long history of successful sports franchises, except the Mariners, because it's the Mariners, and the Mariners will never be fully successful. That is the true curse of being a Seattle Mariner, anywhere fan, or anywhere near fan.
The Seattle Mariners right now are getting attention because of the Fanatics uniforms. Did you notice that? It was both. I showed you one with the see-through pants. Mm-hmm. But there was another one where Chavez was talking about how he's excited for like spring training, and his jersey is like misaligned.
They went to get those like kid jerseys that are like for PE. It's just not even the colors bleaching off of them. Like when you sweat enough, the color is on your skin. Well, that's the thing is, oh man, the Mariners. We can go hours about the Mariners, because talk about a team that is just that I don't think Seattleites. I think Seattleites love to watch lose. They get used to losing so badly. Like this, I slightly wish that this could have been a sports radio kind of style episode, but it's not a sports radio episode. So I'm going to take you back. I'm going to take you back to 1978. The Seattle SuperSonics wins the NBA Finals against the Washington Bullets, making them a national championship.
Is this the first Seattle team to win a national title?
Yes.
Do you know that for a fact?
No, it is. It's like literally that was their claim to fame for like before the Seahawks even went to the Super Bowl. That was their claim of fame.
Well, the Seahawks did not go to the Super Bowl until 30 years later.
Yeah, 2005.
So,
that lineup, amazing. It was Jack Sikma, Fred Brown. I've met Jack Sikma in real life. This is not one of those not real life. This is one of those like I actually met him. He's a massive giant. He's really old now.
How old were you when you met him?
Oh, this was when I was still in Oak Harbor. So this was like 2017.
Okay, so you're full height, and so
yeah,
for context, Matt is 6'2".
Yeah, he was massive.
So when Matt says somebody is massive, you know they're really massive.
He was like could not fit in the frame of the door.
No, he's like custom car massive, like Shaq.
Yes, and he was one of the tall men in the NBA who modernized shooting tall men. Large players that could shoot as well. He was master at threes and in the paint twos. And he revolutionized the game. Like you can't take that away from him. To ignore that is to ignore basketball history. And they beat the Washington Bullets, which is still a hilarious name for a basketball team out of Washington, D.C.
Oh, because of how many presidents have been shot?
No, it was originally the Baltimore Bullets, and then they moved it to Washington, D.C. So, like, no matter what, it's such a funny name for a team. But I don't know why they kept the Bullets.
It could be worse. It could be Houston Bullets or Austin Bullets. Where was JFK killed?
Dallas.
Oh, Dallas.
Sorry. Yeah.
Named all the other big cities in Texas.
The San Antonio, the El Paso.
None of them felt right. That's why I asked.
They beat the Washington Bullets 4-1 in the series. So they beat them pretty well, like pretty handily.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty dominant.
Yeah. They play.
So they play best of 5.
Best of 5. Yeah. Best
games,
of 5.
Or best of 7 games. Probably best of 7 if it was 4-1, right?
Yeah, in this time period, it was best of 7.
Okay, and now they play best of 5?
It just depends on how far it goes. It's really a sliding scale, but it's usually to 7 still.
It's like the MLB finals.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, they're a playoff team ever since. Dips in quality, but they're owned by the same owner until
there's a little man named Howard Schultz.
Yeah, and he comes a little bit later, but he comes soon enough.
He's okay. Well, then cut that out.
No. It's relevant. It is relevant.
Okay.
1995, Key Arena gets remodeled. So you know how everyone talked about how bad Key Arena looked back a couple years ago when we were trying to get the hockey team. It was from the last remodel in 1995 that it looks bad, and I put in quotation marks.
I mean, that was like
30 years ago.
30 years before it was remodeled.
Right.
Well, it's not 30.
Less
it's
than
like
30
20.
years ago. This is like 24. Now, I will say this about Key Arena, which I will not call it Climate Pledge Arena.
Pledge.
I hate that.
Climate Pledge is because it's net zero carbon emissions, Matt.
No.
Wasn't this like by Amazon?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't believe that, but allegedly.
That's why it's not Amazon Arena. It's
right.
Like, oh no.
Yeah, they didn't want to just slap an Amazon on
Am I correct about that?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I think there was a Jeff Bezos project, like legitimately, like he was trying to lead a PR campaign.
Powered by Amazon Web Services.
AWS. We are doing statistical analysis of basketball through AWS.
I don't think the Key Arena looked awful when they tore it down.
However,
or redid it in the second time.
However, I agree with you, but it was the smallest NBA venue in the entire league.
Yeah, I went to it.
It's tiny it was tiny comparatively.
I went to it for a concert.
Mm-hmm.
Just one concert, maybe 2. I think just one concert that I've been there. And it wasn't horrible, but it did strike me as like not a huge arena.
It's never been a big arena.
Like you can fit a hockey team.
I believe it's like about 20,000 seats, which is for a basketball stadium. Basketball stadiums can fit up to like 50,000 people.
Yeah, it's probably the same size, if not maybe a little bit bigger or smaller of the Silvertips Arena in Everett.
Yeah, that's like actually a really great
Which for
analogy.
People who don't know what that is, it's a minor league hockey team.
Right. It's a little bit bigger, but it's about the same size, give or take a couple thousand seats. And so that was a big contention for a long time about the stadium. It was remodeled in 95, but they were going to the playoffs every year basically. And then they went to the finals again. And you know who they played against, Michaela?
Oklahoma City.
No, they wouldn't have a team yet.
Lakers.
No, close though. In goodness and how good they were.
What?
Yeah, I said and how good in quality.
Oh, and how good they were? Oh, well, I think you're reaching. Like I could just name you some of the.
Honey.
I could name you some of the. I almost said football, basketball teams I know, which is like the Hornets.
No.
The Pelicans.
They were. You're naming only bad teams. Oh my god.
The Stars.
No, that's not a team.
Oh, what is it?
That's a hockey team, I believe.
No.
Oh, the Astros. That's a baseball team.
Yeah. Don't they have? Spurs. That's what I'm thinking
yeah, San Antonio Spurs. I can name it if you want. You don't have to guess anymore.
No, I want to know how many I can name. I think that's it though.
In any other teams, you know?
Rockets. Is that a team?
That's Houston Rockets. Okay.
What would Miami?
You know all the Texas
team?
Basketball teams and the Southern basketball teams for some reason though. Just
I don't know why.
That's so strange. Oh, Memphis, the Grizzlies. They used to be Vancouver's basketball team.
That's probably why they're named the Grizzlies. Huh?
Doesn't make any sense that they're named that in Memphis, Tennessee. Yeah, Miami Heat. That's one. That was a good team in the 2000s, around the time that the trade happened. But none of those teams are the team.
Orlando Suns? Is it? That's the Suns.
You have two different teams mixed up.
What's Orlando's?
Phoenix Suns.
Phoenix Suns. Okay. What's Orlando's?
I think it's the Magic. But then they went over to Washington D.C. No, you're right. Is it Magic's? Or is it the Wizards? Am I thinking the Wizards?
Oh, there's the Wizards, yeah.
No, Orlando Magic was the basketball team. They still play. Yep. I'm not crazy.
I don't know. I feel like that was a good amount for someone who never watches
nothing.
basketball.
You don't know. Oh, that's another thing. We have to.
Oh, the Mavericks?
That's Dallas. Yeah.
Oh, did I already say that?
No.
No, I said Houston.
Houston, and you said San Antonio Spurs. Michaela does not like watching basketball.
No, I actually really hate it.
This is so funny that I finally got her in. I know that, everyone is like, oh, you guys, no, we do not watch the same, like, we'll watch football together. We do not watch basketball together. We just are not on the same plane when it comes to this.
Which is fine. Like, I don't mind if it's on. It's not like I absolutely hate it, but I'm not entertained by it. But it's also true of hockey. I am also not entertained by hockey.
Yeah, that's true. We never really watch it. But I will say that you were close with the Lakers only because how good they were at the time. The team was actually the Chicago Bulls, the 1996 Chicago Bulls.
Too.
I know you knew it.
Dang.
And we went up against Jordan. And you know what happens when you get between Jordan and a ring?
I don't.
You lose.
Okay.
We lost 4-2.
These are names I'm not aware. I know LeBron.
Michael Jordan.
And I know Michael Jordan. And I know
Pippen.
Kobe Bryant.
I'm going to list the names.
And I know
roster.
Kevin Durant.
Michael Jordan.
And I know Larry Bird.
She's like going
Magic
back.
Johnson.
You were going backwards in time of basketball. You're not
and
even
I know
close.
Birdman.
What? That's just a rapper.
No, they call him Birdman. He like has a bunch of blue tattoos. I don't know what team he was on.
The Dennis Rodman?
No, not Dennis. He's a white guy.
Oh, it's not Luka. Luka doesn't have tattoos.
Oh, and I know that like Ukrainian dude. Is he Ukrainian or Russian?
Who? Luka?
Is that him?
Luka Don.
The one that owns horses?
Yeah, he's Serbian.
Oh, Serbian. Yeah, the guy who does the NBA as his side hustle to support his horse addiction.
Yeah, that's some interesting facts. Is like he's just like not even having he was mad about having to go to the NBA like celebration that he won the championship, and he's like, can I just stay at home and come back later?
He's like I want
to hang out with my horses.
I want to pet my ponies. Please.
This man is massive, and he's got horses. It's like he doesn't ride them.
Oh, and I know Shaq, obviously.
Yeah, Shaquille O'Neal. Yeah. And he's, but yeah, it was the 1996 Bulls who were ascendant. Like they just dominated every team they played against once they got into the finals. It was Scottie Pippen.
Oh, I know that name.
Yeah. He has a son who plays basketball, I believe. Yeah. And then Dennis Rodman.
Oh, yeah.
The guy who went to North Korea and like...
Yeah, he's a weirdo.
Yeah, he's completely just an interesting character. But he was one of the greatest defensive players to ever play basketball.
I'm going to look up this guy's name.
He was one of the greatest... was one of the greatest basketball players to ever play basketball. He's not dead, so I don't know why I said was. But
because he's not playing anymore.
He doesn't play anymore. Yeah, he's retired. Same with everyone who I just listed. We had Gary Payton, who is also known as the Glove. He was one of the most rough defensive players also, and one of the nastiest scorers. Like, he was just brutal.
So the guy I was talking about that they call Birdman, his real name's Chris Anderson.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And he played for Fayetteville Patriots, New Orleans Pelicans.
Why do you know Pelicans players?
I know Pelicans. Well, I don't know why I know him exactly.
It's like one of the worst basketball teams in the league.
I know the Pelicans because Angie Thomas, who is like the author of The Hate You Give, that's her team, and she tweets about him a lot.
Awful taste in team. But you know what? I'm never going to be mad at a person for following their city's basketball team.
I'm pretty sure it's the Pelicans.
Gross.
Denver Nuggets.
Are you just listing the teams now?
This is what he's played on.
Oh, okay.
And then he played on the Miami Heat in 2013, which is probably how I know him.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Or the Nuggets. It could have been one of the two. Nuggets is a bad name, by the way.
The Denver Nuggets?
Chicken Nuggets. I know it's like Gold Nuggets, but I think it's a dumb name. I think Chicken Nuggets.
Disrespecting Melo's team. Just disrespecting it. And
then he also played for the Cavaliers and the Grizzlies.
Oof, the Cavaliers post LeBron. That's a rough junket.
Yeah, 2016 Cavaliers.
This guy's record sounds like he.
Anyway, I know him because of all his tattoos. Like they made an impression on me.
Okay, well,
and they did like a spotlight or something. I don't know.
Well, anyway,
just saying.
It's interesting. Like I see, like this is the basketball from a person who doesn't watch his basketball's perspective. Like my whole family watches basketball across several families. Like both my father and my mother's family watch basketball, and it's kind of like a thing that we do every year. Is we sit down and we'll watch the finals, and even if we don't have a team, it's just like fun to watch good basketball. Basketball is, in my opinion, one of the better sports America and Canada has ever made, but that's my take. But after the 1996 finals, they never go back, but they stay in the playoffs from 96 to 98, and then they don't go to the playoffs until 2005. During that time, in 2001, enter our first character, one of our main characters.
What are you qualifying as the playoffs?
The playoffs, the NBA
like
playoffs.
March Madness?
No, that's college basketball.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Different league.
I was like, don't they all like play each other into
And also, no, not all of them play in March Madness.
Yeah,
only
well,
32
now that I
schools.
know it's college, it's like 64 teams.
Yeah, there's like a bajillion teams.
Yeah, but I was like, there's got to be less than 64 teams in the NBA.
There's like 32.
That's what I thought. I thought it was like 32, and then they narrowed. But it makes sense that they wouldn't do that. So
it's like March Madness, but there's not like every team goes.
Yeah.
Like what kind of? We're not even holding a playoff tournament anymore.
It's just sort of a playoff tournament, but not really.
But everyone can play.
Yeah.
So Howard Schultz buys the SuperSonics, the Seattle SuperSonics, from Bill Ackerley, who's been owning this team for a very long time, since I think the 70s, the late 70s or the early 80s. Ackerley was a media magnate, and then he sold it to Howard, who was a guy who did the Starbucks stuff and
what
acquisition stuff. 2001.
Okay.
Howard Schultz loses a giant amount of money in
for him.
In the Sonics. Like no one knows really except him and a couple business managers, probably to this day, allegedly, how much money like really they lost, because it was a lot of like endorsement deals. You know how basketball sports is just like a lot of like deals, right? Like it's like a bunch of package deals for the stadium and this and that.
Is there a reason he lost so much money? Is it because they weren't performing well?
A lot of people blame it on that. Personally, I don't think that's true. I think that he might have looked at it, or I think that people may have looked at it as a ability to be an asset flip, where they'll make more money selling the thing later than it would if they, like kind of like, oh yeah, I buy this thing cheap now, or cheap when this guy's getting out, and then sell it for more money later. But it does also seem like towards the beginning he really did try to manage the team. He was really bad at it.
Here's the thing I don't get about owners is like, what do you do? Like, don't you have a team manager explicitly?
Your job is supposed to be to provide the capital. You're right. Mm-hmm.
So, like, how is he just hiring the wrong manager?
Probably.
Okay. And he's like not trying to run this team.
Right. And we're talking about a team whose tickets went basically for like mid-tier tickets went for like $40 on a good day.
Well, this is like 2001.
2001. But by the time that tickets before they leave go, it's like 2007, 2008, and the tickets are like $120 for like a bad seat.
Yeah.
So you're dealing with a situation where like there was something going on, like clearly behind the scenes, that I don't think that we'll ever have like the pure knowledge of knowing what was going down, because that wasn't a part of the court proceedings besides just like the spreadsheets. But there's a court case in this. There's two court cases. Ring the Law and Order bell, because here we are. But he buys this thing and he's losing a bunch of money. They think that it's definitely how bad the stadium is. It's the stadium, which Key Arena fills out if you have cheap enough tickets. So I don't think it's the stadium.
I think that they're probably thinking like it fills out, but we could have thousands more seats in it is probably why they're saying it's a bad arena.
Yeah, so he goes to Washington State's legislature and asks for about $220 million to build a new stadium, a new Key Arena.
What year?
In 2004.
Okay.
And 2005. And he doesn't get it because the state legislature is like already dealing with like education issues on the budget. There's a bunch of stuff that is just that's not being fulfilled, and the state's trying to fulfill it. And he's like, can I have some money for the stadium to attract people to our team? And they're like, no.
Please give me some money.
Money.
I only got paid $5 billion from Starbucks last year.
I got the Starbucks bucks. These Starbucks bucks. So he tries to convince the city of Seattle to loan or to publicly fund a new stadium. Now, this is a controversial move for multiple reasons. The primary reason is Seattle is really hesitant to do that because that team has signed a lease till 2010. And so if you build a new stadium, you're like putting a lot of money into something that doesn't need to get fixed right in this moment. He's asking for this in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
They say no. The state of Seattle, or the city of Seattle, actually.
It's a good thing they said no, because in 2 years when the housing market crashes, it would have been awful.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Is this is not a unique incident. Also, in American sports, Seattle being asked to build a new stadium is a very normal occurrence by sports franchises to get the public to basically pay for a privately owned venture. If the Seattle SuperSonics were publicly owned, like the Green Bay Packers, right? The Green Bay Packers is like I believe one of the only sports teams in the United States that's partially owned by the city that it belongs in. So Green Bay Packers will never leave Green Bay. Besides the legacy, they just won't leave because the city owns I think they own a large minority share in it's like 50%, not, or like 49% or something like that. So like they physically cannot leave because the city would just like sue them.
Yeah, unless the city gets paid out, I guess.
Right, which would be an insane amount of money, right?
Yeah.
Like the Green Bay Packers is a massive franchise, which makes it cost prohibitive for the owners to do that. Seattle's team was owned by one guy, and all NBA teams are owned by one guy, which makes everyone kind of like crazy. That's what I was going to say. It's like, which makes it kind of like it's anybody's game. Like if you own a team, it doesn't matter. You can just do whatever you want with it as long as you uphold the lease.
Having just one owner for a full team is kind of wild. I don't know what the Seahawks deal is as far as owners go, but I know that the Sounders, who is like probably Seattle's most successful team,
for sure is Seattle's most successful team.
It probably including the Storm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. I know they have multiple owners. I know because Drew Carey is one of them.
Yeah, they have like minority share owners.
Yeah, but they have like 4 or 5 owners, I think.
You're right. Yeah,
and so
Seattle is, or the sports leagues in America. I mean, we don't have the legacy of like European sports where it's like it started out as like the town making a soccer team or something like that. All of our teams are owned by capitalists.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
There is no civil participation in sports except being spectators. And that is kind of depressing in a way because that means that this can happen in any town. So a team moving, like ask Baltimore about the Colts, right? Like they'll tell you about the Colts leaving and becoming the Indianapolis Colts.
If I had to buy any Seattle team, I think I'd buy the Seahawks.
Interesting.
Just because I think I would be most interested in that.
She said, I'm being
I don't want to do the Mariners.
100% based on the fact that I like this sport more.
Yeah.
You want to take the Mariners?
No, I would not take the Mariners.
You want to take the Mariners?
No.
I might do it just because of the lulls. Because it would be real hard to actually, like...
I feel like the Mariners have, like, gotten better in recent years. But
drastically.
But they keep making moves that are... confusing.
Bad management practices.
And so I'm wondering, well, I mean, I don't really follow MLB as closely as I follow the NFL.
Right.
So I don't know as much about it, but it seems to me like they made some weird choices this year.
They definitely had. This is the first time, you know, my family's from the East Coast. My extended family's from the East Coast. This is the first time I've ever heard Seattleite sound on, like, a radio channel, like sports radio on the East Coast, where they're just, like, completely, like, hoping on their, like, dead grandma that they're gonna win the to get to the World Series this year, and they're just like,
just to even get in the wild card,
right?
And listen, I will give them grace that they are going against the Astros,
right?
And they're going against the other team. What's the other team? The other one in Texas.
Oh,
the one that just won.
Texans?
The Texans. yeah, the Texans.
You're like, what the other Texas team?
Yeah.
You mean the Texans?
Aren't they all in the same division, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
And so
that's
it's hard.
Rough. That's a rough league.
It's really hard for the Mariners to get in, and then of course there's Oakland, but nobody cares about Oakland, so...
For all those Oakland fans out there, we're going to keep it 100 with you. You will never beat the Seahawks to go into the World
I used
Series.
to go to Mariners games in Oakland when I lived down there.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Which means I also went to Oakland A's games.
I was going to say, I'm sorry about that part.
Actually, I don't think they were horrible. I mean, I don't really remember. I don't think they were horrible back then.
I went to an Oakland A's game, too, up here, and the Oakland A's almost won. So I can't, like, completely trash the Oakland A's.
No, I think they've just gotten really bad in recent years.
Recently.
Yeah.
The Raccoon Stadium, because it's just nothing but raccoons living in the stadium. But Schultz is he's going around asking for money. He's begging for money. Then he realizes he's not going to get any money. The city of Seattle's voters vote for Prop 91, which prevents any public money to be used for a stadium in Seattle.
Bye-bye.
Which literally...
Is there a reason that Seattle sentiment was so against publicly funding a stadium?
Yes, there's multiple reasons.
Is it because the Kingdom?
Yes. Kingdom 1. 2.
Safeco? CenturyLink?
No, it's not the other ones.
When did those go up?
Around this time. Like, they actually have already had just...
But they didn't use public funds?
I don't think so. I think they partially they were mostly funded by private interest.
Sorry, T-Mobile Park.
No, Safeco Field.
Lumen Field.
Quest Field.
Okay, Quest Field is a little much, but CenturyLink. That's the first.
Hey, Quest Field's the first one we went to the Super Bowl in.
But Quest Field didn't. Care. CenturyLink is new. They tore. You're saying it's not the Kingdom. It's also not Quest Field.
It is Quest Field.
No, they rebuilt it.
Well, it's still Quest Field in my heart.
Okay,
that's the one.
Your logic is inconsistent.
No, I don't think that you're right. I think that Quest Field is still safe. Is not Safeco. Is still.
You think the guts of Quest Field are...
I mean, they literally call it the same thing.
I thought that they totally tore it down.
I'm gonna here we go. I'm gonna correct the record. I'm gonna correct the record here. Originally called Seahawks Stadium, it was renamed Quest Field in 2004 when the telecommunications carrier Quest acquired the naming rights. Then it was named CenturyLink in 2011.
Yeah, but they redid it.
No, it's the same stadium, babe.
No, because they redid it because this is why we have the Beastquake, because they made a big deal about how they redid it, and so the acoustics are loud in there. And also, I'd like to say for the record, I said Seahawks Stadium.
You did. You said
if you want to go OG, you got to say Seahawks Stadium.
Actually, yeah, but that's not the one we won the Super Bowl in. Or went to the Super Bowl in, which will be another podcast.
Oh, yeah. He's already been
2005
talking.
Super Bowl.
Listen, sorry. Don't put that word in. awful game. Awful refereeing. We've gotten mad recently.
Perhaps one of the worst Super Bowls I've ever seen.
Someone had money on that game.
For sure. And okay, there's a lot of suspicious stuff about that, but I'm not going to go into it because that's a whole nother topic. But yes. We see him basically give up. We see Schultz give up trying to get public financing for a stadium or private financing for a stadium, which is interesting because it doesn't seem that he was too interested in getting his private investor buddies involved in this. Now, I have to remind everyone, this is 2006. Who's living in Washington during 2006?
Not a whole lot of people.
I'm talking about rich people.
You're talking about what?
Rich people.
Bill Gates.
Bill Gates.
Oh, okay. I was like, I don't know. But
Steve Ballmer, two of the richest men on the planet.
Yeah, but I would also like
he couldn't ask them to front a brick. Like, he couldn't be like, hey.
Bill Gates is not going to care. I guarantee you.
Hey, Billy boy, give me some money.
I would like to point out to everybody that Seattle in 2006 is very different from Seattle now, or Seattle 2016 even. There was not as many rich people in Seattle.
That's true. Going into it, he starts shopping owners. So this is when people start going, well, did he really care about the team to begin with? Did he make the right decision? Could he have just tanked the cost for a little bit? Because he's like one of the richest men in the country, too. Insert Clay Bennett and Aubrey McClendon, two boys from Arkansas. Actually, they're like rich business magnates themselves from from Oklahoma. And this is where things get a little interesting. They talk with Howard Schultz and David Stern. They talk to David Stern, who's the commissioner of the NBA, the then commissioner of the NBA, who I don't like personally, so I'm not going to dwell too much on him. But they essentially agreed to buy the team from Howard. And they bring it to a vote in 2006 to the NBA owners to vote for a potential relocation to Oklahoma City in April 18th. Clay Bennett had just experienced hosting the team of the New Orleans Pelicans. Yet again, the Pelicans loom large in the story for some reason. And they host the Pelicans after Hurricane Katrina, as everyone remembers, the catastrophic hurricane, Category 5 hurricane that rips through New Orleans and the Gulf region, making it basically impossible for sports teams to play there. So they housed them in Oklahoma City for, I think, 2 years, and then they go back after 2006, so about 2006, 2007, and then 2008 they go back. And that makes Oklahoma City, the actual city itself, have a little bit of a thirst for basketball. That all being said, Clay Bennett sees an opportunity to bring the Seattle SuperSonics to Oklahoma City.
Can I say for the record that I was wrong about CenturyLink, and that I was right in the fact that they constructed it to be so that it would set noise records. Paul Allen specifically was like, do that, but it's when they originally constructed it. Seahawks Stadium.
Seahawks Stadium. So they go to the board of owners, and they vote to move the team 28-32, or 28-2 owners vote yes. There were only 2 owners who voted against moving. Pop quiz. Who were the 2 owners that voted against moving the team?
So there's now 30.
There's 32 now, but who were the 2 owners, or which teams were the ones whose owners voted against?
Oh, you're saying, okay, so you're saying out of the NBA that all the NBA voted to move this team.
Yeah, out of all who are the 2 that voted no against moving? Lakers. No.
Damn.
One makes sense, and one is like hilarious because of what job he does now, or what show he's on right now.
I don't know. Is Frasier involved?
No, Frasier's not involved. So,
Nuggets.
No, the Portland Trailblazers.
I forgot. Portland has a team.
They have a team, and they're the Seattle rivals. Or they were the Seattle's rivals. So it makes sense why they would not. Why does
Portland have a team and we don't?
I'm not gonna.
No, I'm gonna say it. Why does Portland have a team and we don't?
Hey, I've already gone
the
through
economy in Portland compared to Seattle. Crazy to do
I had a friend who lived in Portland, and we used to be, talked about basketball every year, and we had these. My old job, I used to do a lot of long distance truck driving between spots. And so we would talk about basketball, and it would always come back somehow to the fact that she had a basketball team and I did not.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like keeping the Timbers over the Sounders, which is, in my opinion, a wild choice.
And you're just like, hey,
maybe is a little bit better because I think the Timbers are objectively better than Portland's basketball team.
Right.
I don't think has done.
Well, the Trailblazers used to have Clyde Drexel, who used to be one of the greatest offensive players in the league. Yeah, but they have never...
When was that?
Huh?
When was that?
Like the late 80s.
Yeah,
90s. So it was a while ago. They also had a really great team in Dame Lillard and Miles Leonard and CJ McCullough, but turns out that the front office in Portland hates their fans even more than the Seattle fans. The front office of the Seattle SuperSonics hated us because they just were like, why don't we get rid of all of them and never get a chance to win the finals ever? Yeah, so that happened. I ask myself that, though, every time I talk about basketball. Is like, why does Portland have a team?
Why does Portland have a team?
They don't even...
Isn't the population of Portland like significantly less
than Seattle?
Mm-hmm.
Metropolitan for sure.
Yeah, even though it's a bigger area.
Yeah, it's definitely metropolitan.
Seattle's so overcrowded.
It's very packed in there. But yeah, all that being said, that's why Paul Allen was the owner of.
Wait, he owned the Sonics?
He owned the Trailblazers. Oh,
this dude owned two teams? This
yes.
man has too much money.
Yes. All of those are true.
And everything Bill Gates is like, this is why I said Bill Gates would not care, because Bill Gates has never owned as far as I'm aware, he hasn't owned a sports team, right?
I don't think Bill Gates owned any teams.
But Paul Allen has. Like, Paul Allen might be
two teams.
But if he owns the, what's the Trailblazers? Did he own the Trailblazers? Yeah. So he wouldn't buy Sonics. Why would he do that?
He can't buy in the Sonics.
Or like invest in them? Yeah.
He's
so
not
like,
even allowed.
So your point earlier about being like, you can't find donors or
I was saying Steve
investors.
Ballmer, but then Steve Ballmer went off and bought the Clippers.
Oh, okay. That would be a bad team.
Yeah, I think he owned the Clippers.
I thought the Sacramento name. I thought the Sacramento Kings like made waves. I remember those purple jerseys.
Ballmer is the owner of the LA Clippers, which is one of the teams that everyone posited would go to Seattle eventually. But yeah, the Sacramento Kings are. It's like, so this is the California basketball breakdown is basically Lakers v Golden State. And then all the other teams.
I do think it's interesting that two California teams have purple jerseys.
You're right. Yeah.
Because I was just fact checking myself because I was like, I remember those purple jerseys.
Yeah,
and I was like, wait a minute.
Purple jerseys. Yep. You're absolutely correct. But yeah, Steve Ballmer could have come and bought that, but I think he decided to buy the LA Clippers, which is like a terrible basketball.
Do the Clippers? They don't play in LA anymore, right?
I don't think so. I don't think their stadium's in LA. I don't think. They play in Crypto.com Arena.
That's awful.
In
Where
LA,
is that at?
Downtown LA.
Oh, in LA?
Yeah.
Didn't they just host something like award ceremony in there or something like that? Yeah.
Crypto Arena.
Arena.
It used to be known as the Staples Center.
Oh,
Yeah, where what do you call it? Play.
They should have kept it.
I think Staples is out of business.
I know Staples can't afford it, but they should have kept it as a real business instead of crypto.
Right. Yeah. Oh.
It's just like, what is even, is it crypto.com?
Crypto.com, yeah, babe.
Awful.
This is terrible. Yeah, terrible. They used to be the San Diego Clippers. That's why they're the Clippers. And then they moved to LA.
What?
San Diego Clippers.
Oh,
and then they moved to LA in the 70s, I believe.
What if we took the Clippers up here?
That's what the thought was that Steve Ballmer, because he has like he owns a bunch of property up here anyway. Yeah. Like he can easily manage a team in Seattle. But I also don't think the Clippers make any money.
And then we could change the mascot to be an orca. Because, okay, like Clipper, what are those Clipper Island cruises?
Yeah. Did you go around the sound?
Yeah.
She said free advertisement for the Clippers up in San Juan County.
The trademark infringement is justified or like wanted in this case.
You want to cross-pollinate the business of basketball.
I'm just saying they might.
She said it could happen. Yeah. So yeah, it was him and it was Mark Cuban who is on.
I knew he owned.
He's on the Dallas Maverick. He owns.
Yeah,
the Dallas Mavericks.
I think I knew that.
And he is often. On
oh wait, he said no to it.
He said no, and he's one of my favorites on a little show called Shark Tank.
He's your favorite on Shark Tank?
Oh yeah, easily. Because he's in here just saying the wildest stuff, but he also is a successful businessman because he like owns a basketball team that has won multiple franchises. But he's rich in the way that I would want to be rich, is just owning a sports team and being cool.
I don't watch a whole lot of Shark Tank, but I don't think that he's the one that's like really made out on investments through it.
No, because he's already rich.
What?
Because he makes real money.
I feel like he's just there to be there. Like he doesn't actually invest in much.
For the hustle. He loves the hustle.
For the exposure.
He loves the hustle, folks. He loves the grind.
Anyway.
Yeah. So he voted no, and he's always said that he voted no, and he also has been one of the people who said the league will make it excruciatingly difficult to get a team back. If you read any of his articles or any things that he's talked about the Sonics, he's openly said like that's why he voted against it, because he was like, we could make money off the Sonics still as a league, because that's what he cares about the most because he's a business owner. And then he was also like, once you make a team leave, it's difficult to put them back in. And he's right. It's been almost 20 years now.
Yeah.
They find this guy, Clay Bennett. Clay Bennett buys it in October 2006, and they keep kind of like dancing around the fact that they want to move it to Oklahoma City, and then they start talking to David Stern, the commissioner, basically secretly, and then being like, we want to move it to Oklahoma City, which I have to remind everyone, this is where the story of Kevin Durant comes in.
I thought, and maybe I'm wrong, but my understanding of this situation was that when purchasing the team, he made a promise that he would not move it out of Seattle.
He said he would not violate the lease, which was a $40 million lease, I believe.
But he did. He broke that lease.
He had to pay Seattle like $70 million.
Okay.
Which is a part of the second part of the story.
Oh, okay, sorry.
In the story.
But yes. I know that like really aided the sense of betrayal to people.
Yes, and that's where things come in. So like I said, 2000, this is the story that also comes into, like you were talking about, Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant comes into the story. So he goes to Seattle fully anticipating that he will be a Seattle Supersonic. And they traded Ray Allen for him. And by the time that I think his second year is up, he's going to Oklahoma City, and he has no idea how that happened, which is insane because he was only 19 when he got into the NBA. So it's like, imagine you're like straight out into like your first year of college, and it's just like, oh wait, what?
Yeah. How long was he in Oklahoma City after being traded?
I guess
not being traded, like moving with the team. Because he's no longer with them.
He used to play with... So he played for the Sonics. He played for Oklahoma City. He's played for the Golden State Warriors as well. But he's played many, many teams. I think he's on the Suns now.
I think he is.
He played for the SuperSonics / Oklahoma City from 2007 the draft year. His draft year was 2005 or 2006 to 2007, and then Oklahoma, he stayed with them until 2016.
Oh, so a while.
For a while. Then he went to Golden State in 2016 to 2019. And then he went to the Brooklyn Nets from 2019 to 2023, even though the COVID year doesn't count because it had like a weird end of the schedule in the middle of the game. And then now he's with the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah. Okay. Just curious.
So he's I mean, this guy is a 2-time NBA champion, 2017, 2009 or 2018 NBA MVP, most valuable player in 2014, All-Star. Like, this guy is like one of the greatest basketball players to play basketball. It's like no contest. Him, LeBron, Michael Jordan, they're all in the same conversation, basically. Kobe Bryant are all in the same conversation of like greatest basketball players. Shaquille O'Neal, one of the greatest.
Kind of a different player, but
he's a different type of player.
Yeah.
He's not a point guard or shooter.
Yeah, not quite as comparable as the rest of them.
You wouldn't get a Kobe Bryant without a Shaquille O'Neal. Like, that's just obvious, right? So, so he comes in 2007. So, like, at the end of this, he's thinking he's going to be a Seattle player. He is not. He goes to Oklahoma City basically automatically. Like you said, they kind of went in thinking, oh, this guy's going to keep the city, keep it in our city. But ultimately, he breaks the lease. He's going to send it to Oklahoma City. There are several attempts from private business to assemble enough money to keep him in. There are attempts to build new stadiums. At one point, the Muckleshoot tribe tried to build a stadium, or put the capital forward to build a stadium on their land. So, like, a lot of people put an honest to God efforts to keep the team in Seattle.
Yeah, but he was not.
But he had no intentions.
Yeah, he was not interested.
Then Seattle filed a lawsuit against him. And
because they cost them a lot of money.
So the team got sold for $350 million, of which the lease that he was breaking, I believe, was a $50 million lease. And the city of Seattle sued him for $30 million because he didn't he didn't do the sale in good faith, right? Like, that was the big argument, was that they went to court because he told them that told the league, the seller, the city told the city that he was going to buy the team in good faith to keep the team in Seattle for all intents and purposes. Subpoenaed material revealed that they had plenty of email conversations with no intention to keep it in Seattle. And this is court documentation. This is not like just like article speculation. These are documents that were released during court and were used as evidence against them. The city of Seattle, under Greg Nichols, who was an extremely unpopular mayor after this happens, and then also he's the mayor during the recession. So it's like he just kept getting hit with bad event after bad event. Basically, Seattle politics has not been the same since 2008 and how they react to the crises around them. He was trying to hedge his bets by acting tough, by suing the NBA and the owners, the new owners, because the new owners are now a member of this association of owners. So that the lawsuit is the city of Seattle versus the players, the professional basketball club LLC, which is like the actual group of owners. And so it made them pay, or like the court case was to make them pay $45 million up front, and then another $30 million if they didn't get a new team within 5 years to fill the stadium. That didn't happen, so they had to pay them basically $75 million. And Seattle held on to the rights of the Seattle SuperSonics. So no other team could use the name Seattle SuperSonics.
You can't take it. Was he intending to keep them, the SuperSonics, though? Or
yes.
I'm glad that he wasn't allowed. Because
isn't that crazy?
Yeah, first of all, Oklahoma City SuperSonics sounds dumb.
Terrible name.
Do you know the triple alliteration of Seattle SuperSonics cannot be beat? You can't take it anywhere.
Oklahoma City SuperSonics would have been such a nasty name.
It has a bad mouth feeling. You could
a bad mouth feeling.
You could do San Diego SuperSonics. You could do Savannah SuperSonics.
San Antonio SuperSonics.
St.
Louis.
Yeah, St. Louis SuperSonics, but it has to be an S. It has to be an S city.
It cannot be a not S city because it just doesn't work the same.
Yeah, imagine like Phoenix SuperSonics.
That's just gross. Nasty. Awful. Terrible. I hate it. Yeah, so like I said, the city sues for the violation of the lease, and they are going to actually go all the way with it. They hire the former U.S. Senator Slade Gordon, who deserves his own episode because he is an old school goblin, like from
named
the old
after
world.
A Batman villain.
Yes. He's literally like Slade. He's like
Slade Wilson.
Slade Wilson. He's like old school. Like he's like old New England money from the Fisher family. Like the people on the fish stick box. These are the guys. They hired that guy to represent them in court.
Well, I'm confused. So you said that the mayor was very unpopular. Does this have to do with
this? Is explicitly why, and I'm about to say. I don't understand why.
Because it sounds like they did good.
They didn't do good because they were going to win in court.
Oh, did they drop it?
They settled out of court.
That's stupid.
They were going to win it. And everyone thought... Okay,
but did they get everything they wanted out
yes,
of the
that's
settlement?
why they settled. But, like, instead of, like, pinning this team, basically, to be in Seattle forever, legally, if you read a lot of the Seattle Post-Intelligencer and Seattle Times articles, you will find a lot of articles being like, this judge is being very receptive to Slade Gordon's arguments. There was a good chance that he might have won, not everything, but a lot of what he wanted and what the city wanted. But instead, they decided to settle because they didn't think that they were going to actually win it. They didn't have any confidence in their actual ability to win the case. Okay,
so what did they settle for then?
For that settlement.
For $75 million, and they can't
with no guarantee of the team. They were originally going for a guaranteed team from the NBA.
Oh, so they were trying to get the NBA to give them a team in replacement.
Yes. No matter what.
Got ya. So that's why people are mad. Because they didn't get a team.
Instead of going for the whole enchilada, they went for the field goal. And that pissed off a lot of people. And it was embarrassing, too, because the city had basically told everyone, we are going to make sure this team is going to stay.
Can I say, I don't think they would have gotten a team anyway.
I don't think so. Now that I'm older...
Yeah, I don't think they would have won that. I think they would have gotten exactly what they got, which is...
That's also reflective of Howard Schultz's later lawsuit in 2008, which he goes and sues them, and then sues the players' basketball club, and has the evidence from that case that they have revealed through subpoena. And he's about to win, but the NBA is then allowed by the judge to intervene in the case.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
eventually, that's what's going to happen.
I think that he probably got unnecessary flack for that because I don't think there's a world in where the judge orders the NBA to give them a team and the NBA does not fight that tooth and nail.
And there's nothing legally required, especially since they're paying their lease out. Mm-hmm. There's in the settlement. Why would you want to pay for a whole new team?
Yeah, and the way that the corporations have so many rights in this country, there's not a universe in which the judge will be like, no, you have to bring a team to this market. I just don't think that would happen.
No.
Like, they maybe would get additional settlement money out of the NBA if that was the case, but I don't think that's ever going to happen.
If the city was smart, first... The problem also is that the NBA won't allow a city to own a basketball team like the Green Bay Packers, just like the NFL won't let another team have the Green Bay Packers' profit sharing system of the city owning a share of the team. If that was allowed, if I were them, I would have used some of the money that they got to invest into like putting into a basketball team. But because they're not allowed to own a public basketball team on a private league, we had no recourse. So like I will
also say settling out of court takes away the opportunity to appeal all these settlements, and that's a whole mess you don't want to do. I think settling out of court was probably the best option. The fact that they got almost everything that they wanted.
My heart says, or my mind says that you're absolutely correct. Because I agree with you, like, on paper, it's just, like, you're getting the same thing. Also...
I'm sorry.
Also, they own the team, right? Like, they still own the name of the team. He can't name the team, the Seattle, or the Oklahoma City SuperSonics.
Yeah.
Even though they say they are required to share the same league history once the Seattle gets a new team. Like, they're legally required to share the same, like, stats and stuff. Like, our stats are now over in Oklahoma City.
Got you.
But once we form a new team, we get the stats of Seattle and they get the stats of Seattle, which, whatever. I'm not too mad about that. But my mind is like, you're right, Michaela. My heart, on the other hand, does believe, like, what about justice? What about a little boy watching Sonics games and being, like, away from home and then saying, I'm still a Seattleite because I get to watch basketball from my favorite city.
Listen, I understand, but I'm telling you, that little boy would have not gotten a team anyway.
I know.
So
I know. It's just one of those things where it's like rational brain is like, no, you're absolutely right. The fact that they got to literally retain, I think that the settlement is an acknowledgement.
Yeah, I think retaining the name says a lot.
That I think that the settlement is a protection to prevent them from getting sued. Like, again, like you said, with what happened, because clearly you could present this and it's like a clear timeline where these guys start saying, like, we're going to sell this team or we're going to move this team the moment we buy this team. Yeah. When they're pulling investor notes of the multiple owners or multiple, like, shareholders being like, we want the team. We want the team. So yeah, you kind of can't just not ignore that part. So Howard Schultz drops the case, right? He has a case too, and he drops it because
the NBA
the court
interfered.
Says the NBA can intervene at any moment. Like, he can't, because the sale was valid because of the last lawsuit, which was legitimized.
Right. I don't understand what his case necessarily was.
It was basically like, they lied to me, like, so he didn't look bad.
Yeah.
And
I understand, but, like, he got his money.
He still got paid. He got paid $350 million.
Like, they didn't defraud him.
Right. No, they didn't. They defrauded the city.
They defrauded the city, absolutely, which is why the city won.
Right, the city had a complete justification for suing them. And even Slade Gordon acknowledged that there was a low likelihood that the NBA would give Seattle a football team back. But basketball team. There was even Slade Gordon acknowledged there was a low likelihood that Seattle would get a basketball team out of this, even if they won.
Even if they won, fisherman.
I know, it's crazy. He's gonna
the money in Seattle. Those who have well, now it's different because, like, there's a lot of people who have
money. It's a lot of new money,
but, like, old money Seattle, crazy.
I will do an episode. I don't know what it is, but I will do an episode called or about the old money Seattle pipeline, the Massachusetts to Seattle pipeline.
Yeah.
It's a real thing. Like, because it's a real serious thing.
If you had money in Seattle in 2002, you had money for a long time. Like,
you had like 1800s, 1700s money. Like, it was like a long time ago money.
Yeah, with the exception of Bill Gates, right? Yeah. Which is like, and that's what I mean. Like, you were a name that was, like, culturally, like,
you had purchased.
Even if you didn't know that person was the Gordon Fisherman man.
Gordon, right? Like, it's like he's got in his face was the old man's face, like an old Englishman's face. Like, it's not like he's just like some guy. You clearly know he's an important guy. Well, also, the guy who argued against the Bolt decision on behalf of the state of Washington when he was the attorney general, which he tried to stop indigenous people from allowing them to manage fisheries. So that's just a little thing he did, just saying. So all that has happened. All this happened. So they leave in 2008, the 2007-2008 season for good. They open up in Oklahoma City. They get Russell Westbrook, James Harden. They have probably one of the closest chances of a new team to getting in finals. Still couldn't do it, but it was hard to watch them do it, but to think that Oklahoma City's team was our team and that we could have almost gone to the finals really made me mad, but whatever. And then Howard Schultz later in 2019 in his memoir said that he accepted responsibility.
What's his memoir called?
Oh, I have it.
Oh, it's fine. You can finish your sentence.
His memoir, it's such a bad name, and it's probably ghostwritten. From the Ground Up. That's the name of his memoir's name is From the Ground Up, A Journey to Reimagine the Promise of America.
He had so many opportunities to make coffee puns or something.
The best thing waking up
is Schultz in your cup. Howard Schultz in your cup.
Now remember, this is the book he wrote before he ran his scab campaign against Bernie Sanders in 2020.
Or his union busting efforts
in 2021 and 2022.
23.
And 23. Well, now in the year.
Well, before. He's fired now because he couldn't succeed at that.
He was bad at it.
Which is funny.
That is crazy. That you know how easy it is to be a strike breaker or a union breaker in this country.
What's up?
He said that selling the Sonics was as I did is one of the biggest regrets of my professional life.
That you know what, Howard, you're gonna have way more.
He wrote this in 2019. He wasn't ready for what came next.
Hey, Howard. I understand, but also I think you have a lot to choose from.
He's going to have a long list, and this isn't even the worst one.
Yeah, if this remains the top regret of yours, I think you need to do some reflection, internalize, really consider about why that's your regret. Is it because you like the SuperSonics and you were sad to see him go, or is it because there's some other things that you should probably reflect on that you've done.
My guy isn't even going to list his presidential campaign where he got less votes than Michael Bloomberg. But
oh my God, remember Michael Bloomberg? I didn't even know Howard Schultz ran for president.
He did run for president.
I don't know who would vote for him.
No, not even people in Seattle.
No, because people in Seattle don't like him.
But then he goes on to say, I should have been willing to lose money until a local buyer emerged. I am forever sorry. And I just have to leave that there. That's the last thing I can say about this.
Yeah.
Is that he's forever sorry. Guys.
Listen.
He's forever sorry for making a mistake.
I will give him some grace that he was lied to.
Oh, yeah. That's no doubt.
Yeah. This wasn't all his fault.
I would say it's not even a majority his fault.
No, I would say his percentage is very small.
It's completely rational to, as a businessman, if you're running a capitalist industry, to sell a team if you're not making money from it.
Yeah.
The problem is that he chose the wrong person.
Yeah. No, yeah. I think it's mostly, what's this guy's name?
Clay Bennett.
Clay Bennett?
100.
It's mostly your fault.
It's like if there's any fault, it's 10% on the city of Seattle for not being more active on trying to mitigate any disasters like this, and then 20% on Howard Schultz. I don't even actually put him in the majority share of
I just
think that it's so funny that his flop era is just such a pronounced part of his
I would
life.
be even harsher. I would say 80% that other guy.
What, Clay?
Clay and Bentley? What's his name?
Clay Bennett.
Bentley.
He wrote on Bentley.
I can't remember. He's that insignificant to my, or he's not. And it's not that he's insignificant. It's that he's not worthy of me remembering.
Right. I get you.
Yeah. Anyway, Clay Bennett, I would say 80 to 90%. I would be willing to give Howard Schultz single-digit % of
interesting take.
Responsibility, except for the fact that I think that him buying a team from someone who owned it from the start of the team, basically.
Almost the start of the team, yeah.
For 30 years. I think his fault lies in the fact that he bought this team to begin with without thinking it would be immediately profitable for him, or not for a long haul. He was seeing it as a money-making venture and not Like,
he brought venture capital to sports purchasing.
And not him actually wanting to own this team and like build with this team.
If it were like, if the roles were reversed between myself and Howard, and he was a 12 to 13-year-old black kid in 2007, and I was a multi-billionaire, I would have gone into that knowing that sports teams often don't make money, and you have to invest in the team to be able to long-term make a sustainable product. It's all about team management. He was getting the team clearly. Mm-hmm. Like his coaches were doing his general manager were doing a darn good job. But it's the stadium guys, it's the front office, it's all that side of things that have to be doing their job to make sure that team's successful. Yeah. And I just don't think he invested that well into that.
No, but I also think that there's no way he could think of like the natural conclusion of him failing at this venture would be Seattle loses the team.
Right. I don't think that's something he walked into.
I'll give him 12% responsibility.
You moved the slider a little bit up. I appreciate that. I will still give him 20, but close enough. I agree with you. I don't think it's him. I don't think it's like, I don't think Howard woke up in the morning and was like, I want to sell Seattle's team. I also think that it's bad for his reputation that we lost the team on his, so I don't think he would want to do that, have that on his conscience anyway.
He's holding the bag for a lot of other things. And that's why I say this shouldn't be your biggest regret, Howard, because you got more to regret.
You could lose sleep about this.
You have better things to lose sleep about.
You have so many things to lose sleep about. Yeah. So, Michaela, that is my episode. It's a sad story. I didn't go too angry. I was more talking to the mic like this when I got mad. But that's about it. We did a very basic overview of this, and we have been talking for like an hour and 40 minutes. Well,
that's mostly because I go on tangents about trying to name all the NBA.
She really wanted to show off her skills in telling us. And there's the Pelicans. And I'm like, why do you remember the Pelicans? But
sniped that one.
You got it. Yeah. Well, they show up in the story, so I was kind of laughing a little bit that you called them out so early.
Also,
thank you, Michaela. Thanks for listening.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, our listeners. Please remember to like, subscribe, and leave a review for us on our account.
Share with a friend.
If you can share it with 2 friends, and then you get them to share with 2 friends.
Listen, build us a pyramid.
Make
this a pyramid scheme.
We're not even asking you for money.
You won't be compensated for it, but
this is not a pyramid scheme because it requires you to be promised to pay, and I'm not promising.
Listen,
you anything.
If you send this to 3 friends, and then they send it to 3 friends, I think it's within like 7 layers we've reached the population of Earth. So exponential growth is crazy.
All I'm asking is just don't forget about us. Put us in your thoughts. Put us in your likes list. Put us in your subscribe column, and we would deeply appreciate that.
You can send us an email to whatthewashington@gmail.com. I don't know if I have anything else to say.
All right.
Oh, yes, I do.
Uh-oh.
I'm in preview. I've decided what my next episode is on. So, it will be fun. And it's kind of like I wouldn't call it it could be called a special interest of mine.
I definitely consider this a special interest now that I know what you're about to say.
Listen, there is this company in Seattle that makes video games, and that's been making video games since the 90s. One of the original Seattle Moneys. They don't have money. They don't. Listen, it's fine. It's called Her Interactive, and I have been playing their games since I was a child because they almost exclusively only create Nancy Drew games. And I mean, like, they are the only ones who create Nancy Drew games, but that's pretty much exclusively the games that they make.
Mm-hmm.
Is Nancy Drew games. They're point and click, puzzle solving games. They're great. They're my favorite thing. Like, they're my favorite nostalgia game. I have played almost every single one of them at this point. And this is, like, recent because I did play them as a kid and never finished a single one because I think they were too advanced for my, 7-year-old, 8-year-old brain. Because even now, they're a little more advanced. Sometimes I have to look up walkthroughs. And I'm 28 years old. And I didn't know what a walkthrough was when I was 8. We're getting too much into my episode. That is all to say I will be talking about Her Interactive and Nancy Drew games. So if you want to go out and play a single Nancy Drew game, I would recommend playing Danger on Deception Island, which is set at Deception Island in Washington. And it's a fun Washington-based game.
It's not, in real life, it's not Deception
There is a
Island.
Deception Island.
I'm just getting owned right now with facts and logic in the last part of the episode.
I mean, I don't know if it's like actually, I've never been to this island, obviously.
If it's the Pass Island, I know what that is, but
Deception Island in Island County, Washington.
never mind. Is this between the bridge?
I think it's an unoccupied island, and so it's like not, it's really small. Yeah, I think it's that little landmass.
Oh,
by the bridge.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's a real place, but it's not a real
that's
place.
Why I'll cut off me saying like, is that real place?
It's basically like a San Juan Island that she is on. Anyway, play it. It's fun. It has a lot of Washington flavor to it.
Yeah.
And it's authentic Washington flavor because they're from Washington.
From here.
So that's what I'm going to do next episode on.
Well, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye. Well, Basil, do you want the SuperSonics to return? Say it again. Do you want the SuperSonics?